Beckett link about the Ja Morant rookie, like why that's like ticked off.
Oh, which okay, it's Panini's Chronicles. Is that the? Oh, is that the new Menendez brothers stuff?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Power of the cameo.
I think we should talk about the Logoman that got hit
Yeah,
in the
that's
last
funny. By
24
backyard
hours.
breaks of all
Fucking
people.
backyard breaks, yeah. And then that link that you put in, and then I think
I
if we
found
do
that
this,
hilarious because we that was that the jar we were talking about. The
which
350k that the guy was trying to get for the Ja Morant.
I can't remember.
Similar. It's got to be similar. I don't
I
reckon
can't
it's the same one, but
I can't remember the post. Yeah.
yeah, there was one we were chuckling about the week before last, and it was like if anyone's got a spare 300k up their sleeve,
Oh yeah.
and this one sold for $500,000, and we're like, oh boy.
Yeah.
I was sitting there going, oh boy, egg on my face now. Guess if you got it for 300k, you got it for a
Yeah,
bargain.
delicious. Yeah.
And then obviously the 1v1s. I like that. I've got some card ladder ready to go.
Yeah. So, are you happy with the show? Is there anything you
That
want
looks
to add
good.
in?
Nah,
Yeah.
that looks like plenty. Like I don't know how much. I don't know if I'll get through a full hour, but we'll
Yeah,
give it
that's fine.
a
Just
hundred
do
percent.
what you can do, and then I'll just like tie off the rest. There's no troubles.
That's cool.
So this question actually came from Timothy Price, and that was from last
Oh,
week.
yeah,
So, and pretty much when he put the comment in, I'm like, look, this is, to be honest, like a segment to itself. And I said, we
let's
already
do
had
a
some
thing.
stuff lined up, so I thought we'd do it this week.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, you can
Um,
lead us in. I'm still a little tender.
do you want to talk about what happened, or do you want to just completely avoid
Oh, look, we
talking
can
about
talk
that?
about what happened very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
I'll just say, like, welcome back, and you can say whatever you want to say. And
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
hobbling about.
yeah, cool.
All right, let's hit it.
Whenever you're ready to start, I've clicked record.
All right, you can lead us in.
Great. Welcome, everybody, to episode 26 of the You Can't Comp This NBA podcast. I am here with my co host, Adam Amy, and we missed you last week, mate. I hope you're okay.
I'm okay now.
Yeah,
It was it was a little bit dicey there for a little bit.
yeah,
I had some complications with my left leg. Some great vascular surgeon team there at Clayton Monash Hospital in Melbourne.
yeah, huge shout
Sort
out.
of put me back together and saved my leg, which
Yeah,
was great. So as much as I'm not sort of up and running around just yet, I'll
yeah,
be on definitely on the road to recovery and
yeah.
yeah, baby steps. So it's nice to be able to sit up for an hour anyway and have a chat.
Yeah, mate, I'm so glad to see you, and you look well, so
Thanks.
I'm
It's
glad for that.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's good. After spending 10 days in a hospital bed, it's
yeah.
a few days of freedom and a few good meals. It'll do the trick. That's for sure.
Alrighty, so this week's show, we've got a little bit on. We've got Young Dolph. We're going to talk about the Ja Morant card in the background there. We've got the LeBron triple logo man got pulled in the last 24 hours. We've also got some card reviews of recent sales from Golden Auctions. We've got a Ja Morant to talk about and also a Tyrese Maxey. And then we've got a really good question from Timothy Price about some old school versus the new school and, how the prices stack up. So we're going to do a little bit of a position comparison. We've got someone from each position that we're going to go through and talk about that. So why don't we kick off with a little bit of news around the league, I suppose, and let's start with this Young Dolph card ad. What do you think about this?
I think we're witnessing our own version of this. The Mark Jackson Menendez brothers
Yeah,
card that
exactly.
was going around a little while ago, and everyone's like, "Why is this common card from Hoops worth $50?"
Yeah,
Yeah. What the title of the article was what the power of a cameo, or the first part of that
correct. Yeah.
in this.
So
Yeah.
why don't we just break this down a little bit, because not everyone's going to know what the Mendez brothers story is. Like, do you want to talk to the audience about that?
Yeah. So basically, I can't even remember the year. Of
Let's not get bogged down in
hoops.
the
So there's an
facts.
old like '90s hoops or late '80s hoops card
Yeah.
of Mark Jackson, and we all know Mark Jackson.
Now the
Potentially going
commentator.
to be commentator,
Yeah.
potentially a coach coming up.
Sure.
Couple of gigs that he might be. He might
He's
be.
linked to every position. He never gets hired. So
Everyone,
let's.
everyone
Yeah.
wants Mark Jackson because he
Of
gave
course
birth
they
to the
do.
Warriors. Yep. Let's anyway. There's one of his basketball cards actually has a shot of the Menendez brothers. At
Yep.
this point in time, they were on an absolute tear. Like I'm talking robberies, I'm talking living the fine life, and they were courtside at this game and got immortalized in a basketball
Mm.
card.
Yep.
It was sort of picked up, obviously, in a more modern time, where face recognition and things have been able to pick this up, and
I
this
wonder if
little
social media has something to do with that too.
yeah, it
Yep.
sort of created the first basketball Easter egg, I guess
Yep.
you'd call.
Yep.
Not many people are looking at the background of a basketball card, but
Yep.
yeah, this is a telling point to say that at this point in time, the very much wanted Menendez brothers
Mm.
were at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
So,
Delicious, right?
so yeah, we've sort of got our sort of modern day version
So
now.
my understanding, this card is a little bit different though. So it's a Ja Morant card. It's from
Yep.
Chronicles, which is essentially a set that is very, very heavily printed in base cards, and also too, there's a lot of rookie cards in it. Essentially, it's just a set of rookies. So in terms of the resale of these cards, you actually can pick up some
Mm.
really nice looking cards just for a couple of bucks each. Even a
Yep.
Ja Morant you'd probably get for $5 or $10. Um, so the reason why this card became popular is because unfortunately young Dolph has actually passed away,
Yep.
and then a music expose was written about it, and it's brought in a whole lot of people from the music industry coming in to pick up this card. So in
Yep.
terms of the whole supply demand thing and people using comp prices these days, it's essentially made the car go from $5 up to $70, and we're
Yep.
talking US dollars at the moment. So
Yeah, and I mean, it's very interesting. Like this was the Mark Jackson one was just a Mark Jackson card.
yeah.
This is a Ja Morant rookie card.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of card value, though, I would probably put them like we're not
Similar.
talking. Yeah, we're not that far away, right? So
I just find it interesting. Like long term, does that change things?
yeah, well,
Maybe.
that I think if we use the Menendez card as a case study, and then we look at this
Mm,
card, probably what it has shown is that these cards have held their values,
yeah,
irregardless of whether you think that it's horribly overpriced and inflated. So
I don't know.
where does that
It's
put me? I've got one in my collection, but not because I bought it. I think I got it in a break or a packet that I opened, something like
mm,
that. In terms of buy, hold, and sell, where does it put you?
no, yeah. Like it's one of those. I mean, and we're gonna cross different um memories, I guess.
Mm,
But I'll put it as one of those. It's like the LeBron tribute. It's one of those unique cards that you go, you know what? It's cool that I've got that.
yeah,
Um, and there's a story behind it. Don't we all love the fact that
yeah,
if a
the
card's got
narrative,
a
yeah,
if a card's got a story behind it?
and it's a very natural narrative too, isn't it? It's not like a
Yeah, nothing forced
downtown
about it.
card that is actually like a narrative card. Yeah, as
Yeah,
much as I love those cards, yeah.
yeah.
Look, I'm not paying $70 for this card. Not in a pink fit. Like
Nope,
that's just
nope.
how it's going to be.
You
So I
stumble
think,
across one, you stumble across one.
yeah, exactly. If you get one, you get one. And I'd probably also say too, maybe if you get one for $30, that's probably what the floor is going to be, which is half price what we're currently paying.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
interesting, man.
yeah. No, it's definitely an interesting one as to kick the week off.
Yeah.
That was interesting for sure.
So I think we have to talk about next the triple logo man getting pulled.
Yes, well, we did a lot of talking about this a few weeks back
Yeah.
with Brian, and yeah, they didn't bust it in their break, but
So Brian didn't, but he got a one of one Ant Man.
yeah, I was gonna say they did pull a pretty sweet
Yeah.
Ant Man in that break.
They got two really nice Halliburtons. It was a really nice break actually,
Oh,
and
very yeah, very true. But this what'd you call it? A Grail card? What would you describe this as?
I think it's okay to call this a Grail card because anything that I could never afford in my wildest dreams, I
Yeah,
would sort of put that into like the
the Grail category.
yeah. The thing that really stood out to me the most about this card was I really like the history and the narrative that's been created by the different types of logo and patches. Like I think that's super cool and
Yeah.
and very interesting.
Yep.
And I would also say too that in terms of collectability, it doesn't just tick off LeBron James fans. It's like Lakers fans. It's Cavs fans, it's Heat's fans. So I can really see where the appeal is, into that space there.
Yeah, it's when it surfaced, I was like, is this? It's not April 1st again. No, no, it's the start of May. It's not the start of April.
Yeah,
This isn't it. This isn't a gag. This card has actually surfaced.
it's not a gag, and I think the fact that Backyard Breaks did hit it probably also means that there's no karma in this world. So
Yeah.
of all the people that probably you could say didn't deserve to do this after the other shenanigans they've been pulling with that card they pretended to give away and then did that
Well, I'm
fake
sure
phone
there was I'm
call.
sure there was some doubt when it got pulled by Backyard Breaks.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, it has been verified by
Yeah.
you know independent, but different sources. So I don't think it's illegitimate. But I mean, to be honest, if Drake had
Yeah.
have pulled it, I wouldn't have been too sad about it. Whereas these guys, like, who knows what's
It's
going to
like,
happen to it? It's
yeah.
it's going to be something nefarious, to be honest. Like,
Well, let's go. Well, let's hope. Let's hope. It ends up in some pretty good hands. I think it's not the last we've heard of this card.
no,
To,
definitely not.
to say the least. I think
Yeah.
we're yeah. It should be interesting. Just because I think it's going to fetch some serious money.
So allegedly, there's already a 3 million bounty on it. What would you loosely predict it'll get up to?
I think I don't think the bounty even begins to cover it. I think you're looking over that 5 mil mark
Really?
for this card. Yeah.
All right. I think it's going to be sold like very quickly,
Yeah.
and I wonder because of how they're like just selling it sort of straight away. That sort of reduces the pool of buyers, somewhat because it means someone has to be liquid straight away. So
Mm,
I wonder if it'll sell now for say around three and a bit,
yeah.
and then moving into the future, like the next sale will be sort of the bigger one when sort of the next big fish sort of comes along and he's got all these
And well,
bananas lined up.
yeah, I was gonna say all the dollars ready to go.
Yeah, yeah. Large sales. So you put up a couple of really nice ones into our group chat, and I definitely think we should be talking about these. And also, they're very topical too. So talk to us about the Jar Morant.
Well, I do believe, and look, I between uh between the time I sent you this link and
Yeah,
now, I've had a lot of serious pain medication. So
yeah.
don't quote me exactly. This might actually be the Jar Morant I made a joke about a couple of episodes ago about if anyone had a spare. Was it 350k the guy wanted for it?
Yeah,
518,400 for the 2 of 5
yeah.
National Treasures Jar
National
Morant
treasures.
RPA.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
BGS 9.5 and 10 for the auto,
yeah, yeah. This
which
is
is an insane grade for these cards. They're just so hard to grade that
mm,
highly. And actually, it's sort of funny when you look at the bottom edge, you can visibly see the wear there. So to me,
how
yeah,
you
it got
get how you get a 9.5 when you can visibly see white on the
yeah, it
bottom
got
of the
look, it
card.
got 9 for the edges, but yeah, I mean, it's just these cards are just so hard to grade. So in terms of that being a 9.5, that's just absolutely amazing. So what do you think about this card now that's been sold for 518?
Um, it shows me. Well, look, we've had the NBA playoffs round one go, and
Yeah,
we've been witnessing some pretty amazing stuff in round two so far.
yeah,
Ja Morant's the real deal.
yeah,
So this might just be people getting on board with Ja.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I think this playoff run definitely gave him a lot of exposure, and the timing of this sale too is just absolutely impeccable because he actually got injured today.
Oh, did
Jordan,
he?
yeah, so Jordan Poole inadvertently stepped on his foot as they were moving around a screen. So
I was
there's
gonna.
nothing.
I turned that game off at the start of the fourth quarter because it got ugly. It was
Yeah,
just the Warriors are looking good. It's getting
yeah,
good.
the Warriors are looking really good, but I think
Ja
if this
is.
had it sold say 2 weeks later, you have to sort of wonder in your head like people are so fickle with pricing that
Mm,
would have gone for less than 518k. So I think there's a little bit of course there's luck in this, but the timing of that was absolutely beautiful.
yeah, that's
Look,
true.
this particular card, which is the vertical RPA, is something that I definitely want to get into my PC one day. I never think it's not going to be a Jama round. I don't even need to say that like publicly, but I would love to get one of these cards. So I think in terms of like you speak about Grail cards and stuff like that. Like it's going to be someone low end for me. I might get lucky and get a really say low graded, like I say a 7 Fox or something like that.
Yeah.
The horizontals actually they're not relatively cheap, but they're probably say 66% less in price than what a vertical would cost.
Yeah.
So these are like very very collected. Um, yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on one of these. It's sort of like a that is I suppose one of my Grail cards to get. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, if you've got a spare half a mil, you can probably get yourself your hands on a jar.
yeah.
Probably not
If I
if you maybe if you had the 350k, you could have got it at a bargain price.
I'll let you know when I come across 350
Just
US. Okay.
just randomly. Just
And the second one you showed us too was the Tyrese Maxey. So that is
that's yeah. Where is the maxi?
PSA graded 9 for the card and 10 for the auto. It sold for 51,000
Fifty-one
US.
thousand.
Yeah, that's number to 10 though, and again it's the vertical RPA. It's got the 3 colored patch. Probably not as nice as the jar patch. I think that's pretty fair to say.
Yeah, that's fair to say, but
Yeah,
it's amazing with look, as I think I've said previously, I watched the Tyrese Maxey game last year,
yeah,
and I think this guy has blossomed into a serious
yeah,
NBA player.
yeah.
And nothing that he's done in these playoffs has changed my mind.
I mean, 51K for a PSA 9, I think, to be honest, I think there's a little bit of future value built into that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot, especially when it's rookie cards. I think, especially current rookies.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's relative. It's a relatively modern card. It's not.
yeah,
It's not. We're not talking a card that's 7 or 8 years old.
yeah.
Like the last 2 or 3 years. This is. There's a little bit of future value built into
Yeah,
it.
I definitely think that to buy at this price, that's a little bit difficult for me.
Yeah.
But I would also say too, just the way that his prices are, had a massive upswing recently.
Yeah.
Whoever bought this definitely bought it, on the up and up. So
For sure.
I think that definitely does, play into the price that it sold for.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I'm just trying to pull up now his general prices. So yeah, so he's up in the last 3 months 68%.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's just on his base Prism rookie, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of sales there. There's enough, data points to make that valid, I think. So, look, is that going to trickle back down in the future? I would hazard a guess to say yes, just because of the way that sort of things are cyclic, and also to just like we said with Jama, in
Correct.
terms of timing, the person who sold this, sold at the perfect time. Um, do I think it's a good long term investment though? I don't feel badly about it.
You don't feel badly about it?
Not at all. I
So
think Maxi. I mean, you said it already. He's like the real deal.
I
I'm
think he's a real
beginning.
deal player, but the question
Yeah,
is what echelon does he sit on?
yeah.
Will be
I mean,
my
yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. And I'd also just point out, and this is again saying the obvious, that we're talking about people who have different amounts of money than what I'm dealing with. So it's all relative, though, right? So
yeah.
I suppose maybe the question for us is, are you happy to pay, um, for a silver
Overs?
PSA raw? Yeah. Are
Yeah.
you currently paying like the market price, which is 30? Sorry, it's $57 at the moment.
Yeah.
So maybe that's like the more important question instead of paying $35. And to be honest, probably for me the answer is no. I think it will cycle down a little bit and you can pick them up again. In saying that though, this is
Yeah.
the obvious like counter argument to what I just said. There's a million PSA silvers that are raw, but there's only 10 of these delicious looking vertical NT. So you know that's where we sit with that.
That's interesting. It's
What about
interesting.
you, mate? Do you think it's a buy, hold, or a sell at 51K?
At 51k,
Yeah,
I'd be selling if I could get 51k for a
yeah,
Tyrese Maxey.
yeah,
At this point, look, give it a couple of years. He's made a couple of All Stars. Then maybe
yeah,
you know what I mean. Then you go, oh, maybe this guy's career is headed down that sort of
yeah.
path.
I'd love to talk to a collector that sort of wheels and deals in this space because
Mm.
I'd love to sort of hear the emotions that they go through and how they deal with the pressures of buying that sort of high end stuff. Like I'd love to even this
Yeah,
person who sold this or bought this, like that would be just really cool to have that conversation. I think.
that's interesting. I think talk. Well, I guess talking about rookies is kind of going to lead us into our next
Yeah.
and next topic very, very well.
Yep.
I do
Great.
believe we've had a bit of a comment from a listener.
Yeah.
Tell us about the said comment and what we plan to do to sort of deep dive this a little bit.
Yeah. So this question came from Timothy Price, and actually it was put onto our Facebook page last week, but my gut feeling was that it was going to be a decent segment onto itself, and I
Yeah.
couldn't really skim through it last week. So Tim's question is, how about a deep dive into why prices of rookies who are yet to do a thing in the league are worth so much more than Hall of Famers whose legacies are cemented? I know the argument will be potential, but history dictates a small percentage of players will end up Hall of Famers. So I thought a lot about this, how we could answer it.
Yep.
And I think in some ways, Tim's answered his own question.
I I
But
I think I think it's a little bit deeper, but you're right. There is an extent of his sort of he has answered his own question in a
yeah,
sense.
yep.
Um,
I mean,
yeah.
if you want to add anything subjective to this, like do now before I sort of lead in the next bit. How about that?
All right. Well,
Yeah,
if you think about it,
yeah,
look, the modern era is very different to the way cards were collected back in the
yeah,
'90s, back in the '80s.
yeah, definitely.
Values are very different. There are graded cards now, and I know grade even with grading included, there's still some serious, significant discrepancies.
Yeah,
But when we talk about the crazy prices, it generally does only refer to the rookies, like rookie card,
yeah,
and only certain versions of the rookie card. So obviously we're comparing. I suppose we're it's not an apples and oranges thing, but it's where you're right. Potential puts the ceiling there, right? And if someone's career is cemented, the ceiling's already solidified.
yeah,
I don't think that detracts from the fact that why the hell isn't a rookie card of a great player from the 80s or 90s not worth the same as a Ja Morant rookie card? Or do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Or not even Ja Morant. We'll put. I was about to say Scotty Barnes, but say one of the other drafts. Say Cade Cunningham hasn't won an award, got drafted number one. That's all he's got to his name, and he's played for a poor team for 1 year.
yeah,
Why would those cards be worth more than a Magic Johnson rookie card
yeah,
or a Larry Bird? You know, like it.
yeah. So I think to answer those questions directly, I think is really hard, to be
Yep.
honest. So that's why we came up with the idea is we look at each position, so point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, and then
Yep.
we'd pick one old school guy, and then we'd pick someone who's new school. And I think if people are going to critique this segment, they could say, "Look, we picked the wrong old school guy and we picked the wrong new school guy." But we tried to sort of do a little bit of
Oh.
a bit of a variety,
And we
and
don't
also,
want to and look and I'll before we go and change in the point guard position.
yeah,
Um, no, we're not doing Ja Morant. So like we've done Ja to death, and I
yeah.
actually think you've chosen very well here,
Well,
given
thank you,
because
sir.
I was going to ask for an update on on Jordan Poole. So let's start
Yeah,
at the point guard. We've got
yeah, yeah.
Jordan Poole versus who we got Isaiah Thomas.
So the old school Isaiah Thomas that was battling against Michael Jordan.
Correct. Yeah, I was going to say yeah, 80s, 90s Isaiah, not
So his career resume is two-time NBA champ, 1989 and 90, 1990 Finals MVP, 12-time All-Star, two-time All-Star Game MVP, which some people say, well, that's not really an award worth counting, but I like the All-Star Game. I think it's actually important to see like what's what in that year and to win the MVP twice. I think that's important.
yeah.
So the card that I found for him, which I think is significant, is the 1986 Fleer. PSA 10 of that last sold at 3,735 USD. So I think the other reason why I wanted to do this exercise in the way we're doing it is because actually we're somewhat trying to do it in an objective way. So we're putting numbers to players' names because
Yeah.
I didn't expect to see a sale like that. I'm not too sure how you felt about that price.
No.
Like to me, that is incredibly high.
I was going to say Isaiah. I was curious at you
Yeah.
choosing Isaiah Thomas.
Well, I think he is probably someone that is definitely in the Hall of Fame, and he was an amazing player. But I would probably also say too, he copped a lot of shade from the way that he behaved towards other opponents. So
Yeah.
the obvious one is how he was left off the Dream Team, and then of course
Mm.
Jordan literally kicked his legs and laughed at him in that documentary. So I think that was probably a little bit as to why I wanted to look into this guy's prices a bit more. So
Yep. One
look,
of
probably
the OG bad boys.
yeah, definitely,
Yep.
and a very skilled point guard, and I probably think he would have done very well these days, actually, like in terms of his skill
Yeah.
set and yeah. And then I think a really obvious one at the moment to compare. I mean, this is like in some ways like cheating and or boring, but it's a really good comparison because Jordan Poole is absolutely going to the moon at the moment. So his last sale was $780 for a silver PSA 10,
And
which is
we're still going to the moon. This is the
well.
thing.
So on last week's show, actually, he was up to 989 USD. So he's slid down a little bit, like,
Okay.
not a little bit, $200, but
Yeah.
that's still really high. So and what I'm about to say now actually answers one of your things that you put in before is why are we paying these prices? Well, I would say that let's just say you believe that Jordan Poole's career arc is like Isaiah Thomas's. So if you're playing the
Yeah.
25-year game and you're paying $780 now, well, you can say, well, in 25 years' time, when I put these cards away and I get them out to give them to my kids, you might look at it and say, well, it's now worth $3,700, like what the Isaiah Thomas card is. So
Hmm.
maybe that's what contributes to the very high prices of these guys who, as Tim said, really have done nothing.
Like comparatively, like let's say Jordan Poole's recently done some amazing stuff,
Yeah,
right? But his career is minuscule in comparison to Isaiah Thomas.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you're talking years upon years in the league,
yeah.
and like he's actually like Isaiah's rookie card. It makes sense.
Actually, I'm not sure that is a rookie card, but at the same time, that was something that I could find. So sorry, Ed.
No. I'd imagine that it's about the right time anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually really funny because I'm just looking up Drexler at the moment. I wonder if that's when cards sort of became, very much commercially available. And
When was Clyde's rookie year?
I don't think this is Clyde's rookie card. This is 1986 Fleer again. Alrighty, let's jump on to the next one. So our next one is shooting guard, which we chose Clyde Drexler and we chose Devin
Clyde
Booker.
the Glide.
Yep. So Drexler is a one-time NBA champ. He was a Dream Teamer, which he won the gold medal. He's in the Hall of Fame. Uh,
Hmm. I'm looking up his details.
his career points is 22,000 points, 700 blocks, 2,200 steals, 6,100 assists, 6,600, nearly 6,700 rebounds. So he's put up, a lot of numbers in those years. My recollection of Drexler was that he was on really good and deep Portland teams, but
Hmm.
really come up against some strong teams in terms of the Bulls.
So
And
Clyde the Glide
yeah,
was drafted in 1983, but his first
interesting.
printing on a card was 86 Flair.
There you go. Yeah, it's a bit of a coincidence is that like Isaiah Thomas and Clyde Drexler
Yeah, yeah,
both
and I
showed up
think
the same.
like it 80s basketball cards weren't like 90s, like where there were multiple releases a year and
Yeah,
like there was a period where there weren't always basketball cards all the time, if that makes sense.
the pop on the PSA 10 Drexler is 336.
Whew.
So, in by today's standards, that's minuscule, right?
But it's still that 300 population on a card from the eight. That's yeah,
But if
that's
you
impressive.
if you divided that into 17,000, right?
There's not 20 something thousand PSA 10s going around.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's for sure. That is definitely for sure.
So it's 0.19% of that
Yeah.
17,000. So when you say it like that, it's
Yeah.
like there's a lot less. Yeah.
It's very interesting when you think about it like that and you go, there's not that many of these cards around. There's plenty of
Yeah.
PSA 9s,
Yeah.
at which you'll be sort of looking around the 280 to 300 US
Yeah. So
mark.
the PSA 10 is $2,099.
Yeah.
So what do you think about Devin Booker as a comp?
Devin Booker? Yeah, another
Yeah.
shooting guard.
I actually I know their games are very, very different in terms of the athleticism and the way that they sort of score and transition. Like Drexler was just prolific in that space, but I
Well, if you're
don't
gonna,
mind.
I was gonna say Booker's been sort of given sort of the modern Kobe tag, so you don't give the comp to Jordan.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Clyde's a good. I think Clyde's a good comp
I don't. Yeah, I don't
as
mind
far
Booker
as
because
status.
definitely not athletic, but I like the way he sort of does a little bit,
Mm.
around the court, and
Yeah.
that was very evident when he sat out those games against New Orleans. They just seemed to miss something
Mm.
when he wasn't on the court, and that's what he does. A bit of rebounding, he assists at the right time, he scores. So Devin Booker, silver PSA 10, last sold for 3,050, and I this is the part that probably what Timothy's talking about too a little bit. What has Devin Booker done?
What is that? Yeah, yeah. No, that's that, and that is a legitimate um, question. There, that's what you think about it. Like Clyde Drexler has had had his career,
Yeah,
and D Book, who, yep, sure, he's done some stuff already, but he's done nothing, nowhere near as much as Clyde,
yeah. Pop
and
on this is 187.
which is which is actually not a terrible pop count.
And I suppose the other criticism you could have of this is that, well, clearly the Fleer cards didn't have the Prism technology
Yeah,
applied to it. And you could also argue, too, that the Drexler is not a rookie card. But,
yeah,
I mean, what would you rather have? The Drexler at 2K, or would you rather have the Booker at 3,000?
that's a tough one.
I mean, this does actually make me lean to think that Booker's probably a little bit overpriced at the moment.
The silver is overpriced
Yeah. So
because
the
you
silver
look
PSA
back
10.
and you go PSA 10, and look, we'll go base
Sure.
population 1624, and just the normal Prism silver.
Yeah.
No, not silver, Prism base.
Yeah.
PSA 10 dropped off a little bit. Last sold
Yeah,
for
he's actually down, which
445.
is interesting, isn't it? Considering how well they're playing.
Yeah, given how well Phoenix are doing, the fact that
Yeah.
he's down. Yeah, normally you say the starting price was around about that 490, 500 mark. So is that down around the 450 mark? But the population on that is 1600. So what was the population on the Clyde?
So
300.
yeah, 336.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
So are
five
you?
times, look, 5 times the population, and it's worth a sixth of the price. Interesting.
Yeah.
The numbers sort of make sense on the base. And
Are you saying that the better comparison is to compare the base to the Fleer 86? Is that what you mean?
I'm just doing a different way. I'm looking
Yeah.
at the population count, and
Yeah.
obviously the older cards are going to have very different population counts.
Yeah. And different
Um,
types of cards too. I think that's why this
yeah,
conversation is a little bit tricky.
it is very this is going to be difficult to navigate, and we're just trying
Yeah.
to throw as many different ways of looking at it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me that the population is 5 times more of these Devon Bookers,
Yeah.
and they are worth a sixth of the price.
Yeah.
The modern versus the old cards. So I mean, the older cards do get some credit. Is I guess what I'm trying to say.
I'm actually very surprised what I've seen so far with the old school stuff in terms of, particularly the Isaiah Thomas. I was shocked with that.
Yeah, I didn't know anybody collected Isaiah.
Yeah. Just because of the shade he has been getting, recently, I
Yeah.
just assumed that would sort of impact his card prices, but yeah.
Well,
Alrighty.
I think the next one's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, this is a fun one, isn't it?
Next
So
one, we've got. Do you want to do our modern or our old school first?
let's do the old school.
All right, so we've got Magic Johnson,
Yep.
All
And
right.
this one is going to be tough because his career was essentially cut short when he
Yep.
tested positive for HIV, but he
Now,
still has got an amazing resume. Can I run through that quickly?
yeah, go for it.
Fi-
Go through the resume.
Five-time NBA champ, 80, 82, 85, 87, 88. NBA Finals MVP, 80, 82, 87. Most Valuable Player, 87, 89, 90. All-Star times 12. Two-time All-Star Game MVP. Nine times All-NBA First Team. All-NBA Second Team once in 1982. And the All-Rookie Team in 1980. So that is... And particularly when you say it, his career was cut short,
Yep.
it's just an amazing resume, isn't it?
That's crazy. It is
Yeah.
actually crazy. Um, it just amazes me in general. Just how high the ceiling was
Yep.
on Magic. Now I'm just trying to find, I suppose, a rookie card.
I think it's going to be exactly the same again, man.
Yeah.
Because,
We've got the 1981 tops.
okay, let's use that.
1981 tops. PSA 9. Magic Johnson.
Oh, there is a 1980 tops, which was his rookie year.
1981. There's a scoring leaders in 1980,
Yep.
but they don't have an actual card of him by himself.
That's so weird, isn't it?
I know. It's very interesting. And that's the one, the scoring leaders one, because it was the first printing. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Julius Erving.
Yep.
That's the card.
But you'd
1980 tops.
you'd think that he would get his own card in his rookie year when he was so
Mm-hmm.
highly touted, right?
Yeah. But
But
I don't know. I don't know how that set worked. Scoring leaders, but yeah, the scoring
far
leaders
out. Let,
PSA
all right,
PSA 9.
let's use the 1981 tops because that's worth talking about.
All right, so
Yep.
1981 tops, Magic
Yep.
Johnson number 21,
Yep. PSA 10. Go to that.
PSA 10. Whoa, population count. Population of 74.
Yeah. But look at the price.
Last sold $28,500.
So
I
we're not
was
talking.
looking at the PSA 9, which is like
Yeah.
800.
Yeah.
But wow. Okay.
That's wild, isn't it?
Oh my god.
So, rightio. All
There's
right. So
actually a
that's our.
variation to this card as well.
It's a.
Yeah. West Super Action
Okay.
and the base. Interesting. So there's two different variations on it. The variation's only worth 7k.
Only.
Whoa. All right.
All right. So, and then Luca, which it's probably good to check out Luca to see what he's doing at the moment anyway.
Yeah, well, at the moment he's trying to carry his whole team on his back in a series
Yeah. Man, that team with
against
Dinwiddie
Phoenix.
and Brunson is looking really good. I think
I
that's the
think Phoenix
perfect
are just
Jason
too
Kidd
good.
team. Yeah,
I,
they are.
I think Phoenix are just going to come out too good on this, but yeah.
But that's fine. But I still think what they've done is they've had a really good year.
Brunson and Dinwiddie have shown that
Yeah.
they're real players
Yeah,
around.
definitely.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Luca Silva PSA 10 last sold for 2,542. So, do we think this is a reasonable comparison to put Magic Johnson and Luca into the same conversation? I feel totally comfortable about this because in some ways
Mm-hmm.
he's been put into the GOAT conversation of, Jordan and LeBron.
Yep.
And in terms of, future pricing and all that crazy, price hike that we went through a couple of years back,
Mm.
like he really drove the majority of that.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Some people would
I
probably say
definitely
all.
agree.
Yeah.
Um,
So I feel very good about putting these two in the same sentence, to be perfectly honest.
so just going back on this, right? So you've got
Yeah, talk to me.
the Luca. What do we got? So it's dropped a little bit. The Luca.
Yeah,
They're
so it's
around
down
about the
15%.
3k mark, and now they're down around the 2.5k.
Yeah.
But if we go Magic Johnson again, so I was at 28.5k.
Yeah. So the pop on the Luca is 2,125, and the pop on the Magic Johnson that we chose, the 81 tops, card number 21, is 74.
74 is the
Yeah.
population count.
Yeah.
I think that just screams volumes, doesn't it?
So are you saying in this particular instance, what's important is obviously the grade being PSA 10, but also the pop count,
The
which
pop
is
count is
yeah,
huge.
yeah,
So there's 2,000. How many? 2,125
and 25.
of the
Yeah.
silver prism. What's that on 75? You know what I
So
mean?
it's
Like,
there's 3% total of the Magic Johnson cards compared to the Lucas.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's very and it's what 10 times. Oh wait, you'd say 11 times more expensive. So they don't exactly match up, but you think about it,
Mm.
for you get.
So all right. So
So what are
with
we
three,
saying? Every 33 Luca silver Lucas, you get a magic.
yeah,
Well, in that maths, I'd take 33 Lucas over one magic.
yeah, I agree with that.
Hmm.
In the current pricing scheme, I definitely agree
Well,
with that.
given that the current pricing scheme is 11 or of them will.
So let's take this back to, the original question, which was, Timmy Price's question: is current stuff overvalued? We've only looked at three players,
Yeah.
and obviously we've looked at
We've looked at some
relatively.
pretty serious players. We haven't
Yeah,
we haven't we haven't like picked and oh,
I suppose what I was about to say was I don't think this is the be all and end all. This is not the final, nail in the coffin in this conversation.
we haven't got like
But
Alex Caruso up. We haven't got
because I actually feel like my mindset has changed because I was sort of
mm,
coming into this conversation feeling that old stuff was going to be really undervalued and there's going to be heaps of bargains to be had. But when you look a little bit closer, actually, and we do some very rough and ready numbers, I see why people would be buying into this stuff, thinking that say in 20 years it's going to be worth a lot more. Like
yeah. But the
because I
you notice what the pattern I'm noticing is?
talk to me.
Well, at the moment, if you didn't buy the Fleer card of these players, then you don't have the valuable one. It's the same as Prism. It's the same as Topps Chrome. There is an overarching value brand.
Which card are you talking about? Because the magic one was the 81
That
tops.
was 81 Tops, so that's a different. But when we looked at Clyde,
Okay, sure, yeah,
Isaiah,
yeah, okay,
we're looking at this like this 86 Fleer set because I'm guessing there'd been a hiatus from basketball cards for a
yeah,
little bit.
right, yeah,
But like these are the first appearances of these players, so we don't know if they're actual rookies, and they're not. They're not the actual rookie year, but it's the first appearance.
yeah.
Um,
So what are you saying that the brand of cards that you buy is very important?
I'm
So
saying that we're comping against the Prism. So we're showing there's a comparative, but it's Luca Silver Prism, not Luca Hoops, not Luca. Like, because of the era we live in, where there are 750 releases and we're a season and a half behind by the time we get someone's rookie card.
yeah,
But it's still, and as much as people rag on it, Prism is the release. Prism is the important release there.
yeah. And I
Um,
wonder if you then apply that to like the Drexler stuff where the important card was Fleer,
yeah,
and then you apply it to Magic Johnson. So at that particular era, the important
tops.
release was tops.
Yeah,
And
and there wasn't much out there.
I have to admit, I think if you're trying to invest or you're trying to buy a card that you want to flip in the future, the
Yeah.
safest way to go is Prism. I don't think there's any dispute in that. So maybe that is a lesson to be learned out of this exercise. But
Mm.
that's something that has been shown through time that
Don't stockpile your hoop space or your Donruss
yeah, yeah,
space.
because in 20 years' time, those cards probably aren't going to hold the same value that a Prism card will hold,
Yeah,
regardless of the pop count, regardless of the fact that it's retail and people like to rag
but
on that.
these ones, yeah, that's what we're seeing is these
Yeah,
Prism cards are already showing that
yeah,
they historically stand up against the old stuff.
yeah,
And obviously, 86 Flea is a very iconic release.
yeah. That
Obviously, with
that is
Jordan's rookie, and
that is absolutely iconic.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's
Yeah,
it's an iconic set.
yeah,
And it's interesting when the people are like, "I'm selling a full set minus the Jordan." And
It's
now
not a full set, mate.
now I'm thinking, is there value in that? After
A larger
listening,
one, a large one's there. Barkley's there. Carl Malone's there.
well, we just had Drexler and IT,
Yeah,
and like there's some serious money if the card's graded well.
yeah,
It just intrigues me. I don't know if it's on the money yet, but
yeah,
yeah, it's I think there is some value in the older stuff, but it's very specific value because the value does creep away from the PSA 10 when you go down to 987.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
true.
definitely. Alrighty, our next one on the list is Shaq versus Embiid. So
This will
yes,
be
Shaq,
interesting.
not the the most sort of old school guy, but the reason I chose him is because I think, again, in my head, he's probably someone where it seems a little bit underpriced to me.
Yep.
And I don't really understand that. So hopefully we'll unpack that a little bit. Okay,
Well,
so Shaq, four-time NBA champ, three times finals MVP, most valuable player in 2000, 15-time All-Star, three-time All-Star game MVP, eight-time All NBA first team, two times second team, and four times in the third team. Talk to me, Ad.
this is an interesting one for me
Talk to me.
because I find that Shaq is a player that went, and this is no offense to the Orlando Magic,
No,
but
no.
was drafted to the Orlando Magic, put them
Yeah,
on the map pretty much,
yeah, that was a sick team.
but then went to a big market team.
Yeah,
And we've talked about this through this season where we're talking about like when Halliburton got traded. Like, oh, he's gone to Indiana. I said, yeah, but what about the next stop? What about when he signs a big deal somewhere big? If he's the next thing in the for the Clippers, or if do you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's and Shaq was one of those players that, funnily enough, was sort of in that went to a smaller market in Orlando
yeah.
and got some jersey sales out of it. Like him and Penny Hardaway sort of made a name for themselves in Orlando.
That was an awesome team,
It
man.
was a
Like,
lot of fun
yeah,
and but then he went to the Lakers
yeah.
and in the end Miami, like, and then every other team in the league.
Phoenix, Boston.
But yeah, and Cleveland was it?
Yeah, he was too, wasn't he?
Played
That's
everywhere.
that's brutal. Yeah,
Um, but yeah, like he was. It's an interesting thing to look at because he's been quite well collected.
yeah.
I think was my point. Spinning around to that. Now, I mean the card that I most remember.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Because
Yep.
I've got two completely useless questions to ask you.
Oh,
How many three pointers did he make in his career?
one.
Very good. And what was his highest rating on 2K ever?
Wasn't he the only player to ever be rated 100? Was he the?
I'm very impressed.
I
I
thought.
didn't know
I
either of
think
those.
I read that. I like little tidbits of information and I keep them up. It's fantastic, isn't it?
That's excellent. Yeah.
That he's the only
Hats off.
player to ever get 100 on NBA 2K.
All right, I interrupted you. You were going to tell me about a
So
card that you
the
had in
iconic
mind.
card I had was the and it's not an expensive card by any means.
Yep. Good.
It is the 1992 as Upper Deck because that's it. This wasn't a Topps Chrome era.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the set was at that point, and I don't know if there was a set, but Upper Deck seems to be the iconic one.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't a Topps Chrome or a Topps. Like, it wasn't Fleer and it wasn't Topps. It's weird.
Yeah. Are you talking about the one when there's sort of three
The
pictures of
three
him
of them, yeah, the
and he's
black.
dunking the ball? Yeah.
Yep, that's the Shaq rookie card. PSA 10. Current price last sold $3,000. Pop count of 331. PSA 10.
That's wild, isn't it?
Now, PSA 9 on the other hand,
Talk to me, big fella.
7250.
Wow.
Population of 3,500. Now for the night, no, I guess we're in the junk wax era. But yeah, 1992 Upper Deck, Shaquille O'Neal, Gem Mint, PSA 10
Yeah.
will was back in February around the $1,700-$1,800 mark. Sort of been up and down a little bit, but last sale, yeah, 3,000. So
Interesting. So, in your head, did you think that was what you were going to be expecting to see when you were going to Shaq's cards?
No, because I keep getting the nines, the eights. I see all these $100 to $200 rookie cards. Like
Because
finding the PSA tens was I'm like, okay, well that's not a terrible price. I actually think that's undervalued for Shaq.
3,000.
But I also when I said that Upper Deck was the set, Upper Deck doesn't strike me as a premium set. It was a big set and a lot of base involved with it and a bunch of insert sets.
I think at that time though it was more expensive than Fleer and Hoops.
But there was Flea Ultra, I think. Hang on.
Yeah. Because I've got a few of the Fleer rookie cards that, they were just a couple of dollars each.
Yeah, yeah. That's like 1992 Topps Shaq
Yeah.
base PSA $200, PSA 10.
That card is like to me the almost the epitome of 1990s artwork.
Is this the one I think it is? Hang on,
So
I'll
it's
just.
got that sort of copper border and then
Oh, the bad copper border, and
yeah,
and he's like posting up.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So if I
terrible.
think early, late 80s, early 90s artwork, that's the sort of, image that comes into my mind.
And that's the one
Um,
that the last price was 190 US.
yeah,
Population
really,
of 3,800 of a PSA 10. That's like comparatively, that's Luca level. If you go back to the 90s, people weren't throwing that many cards to PSA, but that's a lot of PSA 10s.
I wonder if those cards though have been graded in the last, 5 to 10 years. So
That's possible, or in the last
because
10, 15, yeah.
yeah, because realistically, when is
The
the
the junk grading prices
yeah, when
era,
has the volume of grading been done? What's been like the total number of cards graded in the last 12 months is greater than anything that's ever been done. Like that's
everybody's getting everything graded.
yeah,
Yeah, you're
that's where
right.
we're sitting at the moment.
Well,
Yeah.
the population on the PSA 9 is 13,000 for that shack.
All right. We've jumped around a lot here. So do you want to agree to focus on the 1992 upper deck?
Yep. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
see if there's any other real
Yeah.
thing that stands out, but I think it's that one. That's the
Yeah.
one.
I think let's stick with that just for the fact the price is so high. Yeah.
High, and it's an iconic card that most
All
people
right.
can get
This
behind
is
and
actually
relate
a
to.
really cool one. Okay, so the Embiid Silver PSA 10 last sold for $2,025. So would you like to have one and a half Embiids or would you like to have one Shaq?
Ooh. I'll have a shack.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'll have me a shack.
Yeah. Is this the first one where we've chose the old school over the new school? We
No.
chose the Drexler over the Booker,
We
didn't
did.
we?
We
Yeah.
chose the Drexler over the Booker.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, well, the Lucas, actually, no, if we have 33, if we have, yeah, 33 Lucas versus
I'm
one
talking
Magic.
smoke now, I know. It just, yeah, I
It,
think,
it, it, it's an it's not as black and white
no.
as initially I
Yeah.
would have thought it would be.
Yeah. I was walking into this thinking that all this old school stuff is going to be undervalued and blah, blah,
I
blah, blah,
mean, the
blah. But
Shaq is a really good example in my eyes,
yeah.
just because there's so many cards that are from $10 to $30
Yeah.
for his
And then
rookie
you got
year.
this one, which is insanely, priced,
And you
basically.
get a PSA 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look at every other release that year,
Yeah.
even the PSA 10s are worth jack.
Yeah.
A PSA 10 Shaq hoops base, where are we? Shaquille O'Neal hoops is like $80.
Yeah.
PSA 10.
And look, that's probably not the worst buy.
Yeah.
Because that's the
And
type of thing where it's got a lot of room to move, and
oh,
then
there's also, I forgot about the 90s. There were draft redemption sets. So there's a couple of those that are worth $500. But anyway,
yeah,
it's irrelevant. There is a lot of junk in there, and they called it the junk wax era, right?
yeah,
There were a lot of sets printed, and that goes the opposite to what I was saying before about there only being one or two sets out. So by the early 90s, there were 8 different releases,
yeah.
and the upper deck is the one that stands out.
Well, yeah, I think what we were talking about before in terms of choosing one particular card that moving into the future is going to have some value. I think
Yeah.
this has really really illustrated that to an absolute T, where you've got a $2,000 card or you've got a $100 card. Like that's
Yeah. There's like so
You couldn't illustrate that any clearer.
you've got 1992 Upper Deck, which is where obviously where that's the rookie card in a PSA 10. If you've got one,
Yeah,
then that's where you're going to get some money, right?
yeah.
Then you've got 1992 Tops. If it's a PSA 10, you'll be getting 200 US for it. 92 Ultra, 92 Stadium Club, 92. Oh, we've said Tops. Hoops, Fleer, Skybox. Like this is when junk wax started.
I actually don't like the term jump wax because if you think about it these days, I think there's more cards these days than there was in the
I was
90s.
about to lead into that. I
Yeah.
was gonna
So
say they call it the junk wax era, and I think it's a little bit
I
detrimental to the hobby.
I think what it means to me is that if you buy a box of 200 cards, there's going to be two cards that are valuable, and the rest are probably going to be cards
Junk.
that you don't even put
Yep.
into a penny sleeve. Like being
They're your postage packer cards.
being pragmatic about, and I'm not trying to say this. I'm not trying to be controversial.
No,
Like I
no.
love cards, and I'm not the type of guy just to throw away cards because I don't want them. But um, I would probably say that are we really that far away from the 90s sort of
I
like
think we're
junk
actually in a
wax?
worse position, but I think there's less base being printed as a result.
I think there's more base, man. I just think there's more people collecting at the moment, which makes those
Yeah,
sort of
mate.
collectible
Yeah,
cards
the
like
sheer volume.
when they pop, they pop.
Yeah, that's true. That's
So
true.
of these Shaq cards, which one do you think you like realistically would you like go out and buy now you've sort of been sitting here? Because when you down click the arrow, there's a base, there's a trade card, and there's a rookie standouts. Um,
Ooh.
like I don't know. I would have minded to do a bit more research into the trade card and look at that because that's selling for 690 USD. The PSA 9 is selling for like $40.
Mm.
Pop count is 2,600, but I don't know. I think if you're buying say PSA 9s in Shaq, I don't think that's the end of the world, particularly at the price
What
that
was
they're
the
at.
trade card though?
No, I'm not going to lie to you, man. I have no idea.
Interesting.
Mm.
Interesting though. Yeah, I'd.
Oh no,
I thought there was a
ignore me.
draft redemption set.
There might be, man.
Anyway,
Let's move on.
yeah, I definitely, I'd love one of those upper deck, those PSA 10s.
Yeah,
But look, I'm more likely to pay $80 for a PSA 9.
yeah,
Do
definitely.
you know
I
what I
think
mean? Like,
yeah, I think the movement
tell
is
you what, I'll give
potential
you.
to the
I might not have 3 grand in my pocket, but I do have
yeah,
$100, and I'll buy a PSA 9 of that.
yep,
And you
and
know
it's
what? In 20 years, or 25 years, when we're celebrating 100 years of the NBA,
yep,
and Shaq is still one of the top 3 centers of all time.
yep. I'm totally fine with this thought process.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
to be honest, I completely agree with it. I think if you can't afford PSA 10, look at nines and hope that as other people get squeezed out the market, they'll come and look at your PSA 9 when you go to resell it in the future.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. The last one is easily, and I put it last on purpose. It's my favorite one. It's the power forward position. I've probably cheated a little bit, but depends who you talk to. Tim Duncan versus Giannis. So I've already said 10 times on the podcast that I think Tim Duncan is insanely undervalued.
Yep.
And I'm going to say it again before I even look up his numbers today. So
Easy.
let's look at the tops chrome because, I think that's reasonable to do.
Tops Chrome.
Yeah.
Come on, card ladder. Don't do this to me. All right. Tops
Uh,
Chrome. BGS 10. PSA 10.
let's do PSA 10 just for the fact. Yeah. Alrighty. So Duncan's resume 5-time NBA champ, 2-time NBA MVP, 3 times finals MVP, 15-time All Star, the only player to be selected to the both All NBA and All Defensive teams for 13 consecutive seasons. Like,
He did all right.
yeah. He made the playoffs for some ridiculous amount of years consecutively,
Mm-hmm.
and I probably the thing I liked about him was the way he went about his business. He was never flamboyant. He was never controversial. He literally just went out there and just dunked on fools. It was just like to watch him play basketball was
Yeah.
just such a pleasure. I think probably later in his career it wasn't great to see him hobbling around. I probably think he stretched it out maybe 1 or 2 years. And then the other thing I didn't enjoy about his sort of later career was that whole court case that he had with the manager that was, defrauded him for all that money. Like that was
Mm.
just,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I don't know him from a bar of soap, but that was just painful to watch, to be honest. But back to cards. So the 1997 Topps Chrome,
Yep,
115. That's what you got up, mate. Yeah.
that's the one
So
I've got. Yep.
PSA 10. What did that last sell for, mate?
PSA 10 last sold for 500 US. Pop count of 2,412.
So look, I'm totally cheating here, but if we cross position compare that to Jordan Poole, which is essentially selling for twice the price, I think if you use this specific example, that probably answers Tim's question. I mean, what Tim alluded to,
Yep.
this is probably like the poster boy for that. That modern stuff is sort of overpriced because I don't
Yeah.
think that Poole is ever going to have 50% or 25% of the career resume that Duncan has.
Yeah. It's interesting. Well, I mean, obviously, Giannis is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go on a card ladder. I've got a third player I'm going to add, just because of the Spurs.
Okay.
What
So
about Kawhi?
do you want to scrap Giannis and do Kawhi Leonard?
I reckon we do both because I think there's going to be some interesting. Oh, I can't spell Kawhi, so I'll just write in Leonard and hope for the best. Oh, there we go. How good's that? By the way, thank you to Card Ladder for reinstating the normal
Screen.
screen.
Agreed.
Being able to flick between stuff and base and prism and stuff.
Delicious.
Yeah. Oh, look, Kawhi bases last sold. Well, he's dropped a little bit, probably because of the injuries this season.
Well, he hasn't played for 12 months.
Yeah, this is true. But last sold 381, pop count of 1100. There we go. So what? Pop count of 2400 base chrome for Tim Duncan. Last sold 500. So, I mean, they were around about the same price before the drop off. Let's be real. But I just thought it was interesting, because they're both part of that Spurs system, which is funny because I don't know if people just don't collect basketball cards in San Antonio, but there just doesn't seem to be a lot of Spurs collectors out there. And I felt like Kawhi was suffering the same fate as Timmy Duncan until he sort of went to the Clippers.
So what Leonard card did you bring up, mate?
I bought up the 2012 Prism,
Yeah. Silver or base?
just the base PSA 10.
Yeah.
Now,
So the silver BGS 9 last sold for 2,700.
I was going to say the PSA 10 is a pop of 40,
Yeah.
and it last sold for 9,840, but that was August 2021. There's no other sales data to display.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's do a direct comparison of like the BGS 9.5, which is 2,700.
Mm-hmm.
So that was last sold on the 1st of May. So that's relatively recent.
Yeah.
And we'll compare that straight to the Duncan at 500.
At 500, not the refractor. Actually, no. I'd say that the refractor's
let's
current
do the
price
refractor.
is a
No, let's
population
do
of
that.
106.
Yeah, let's do that. No, let's do the refractor. That's what I wanted to do, to be honest.
Yep.
I actually thought I had that selected. I'm mistaken.
Yeah,
I'm mistaken. You're correct. Yeah. So 12,000 for the Duncan.
That's a PSA 10, but we'll go BGS 9.5, which is interesting because that's plummeted. That's halved in price the last sale.
Yeah.
Now, there's only been 2 sales by the look of it. So it was sold for 8,640 back in April.
Yeah.
And then again, it was like
In
it was
April.
sold a week later for 4,100.
17th. Yeah.
A week later for half as much. Interesting. I guess somebody saw it got put up and put one up as well. Population's 84.
So
population of 67. So they're very comparable population-wise.
I think that so essentially it's like double the price to get a Duncan to acquire
Yeah.
Leonard.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think that's justifiable because
Timmy Duncan is definitely has got a
he's
hell
got
of
at
a
least
resume.
twice the career. So
Look, and Kawhi's got. Let's not say Kawhi's won championships at two teams, two Finals MVPs. He's got some credentials, but he's also got a very injury-ridden history
yeah,
so far in the
I
decade he's
don't
been in the league.
let's let's just say that we are comparing them like directly as players, even
Yeah.
though I would probably argue they play slightly different positions, even
Mm-hmm.
though I
Yep.
see there's some crossover. Like, Leonard you could play him as a very small four and Duncan
Yep.
he did play power forward at the start of his career with Robinson, so
Yeah.
that's okay. I do think though that Duncan has a much more significant
Yeah.
career resume than what Leonard does.
Yeah.
Um, I'm actually again I'm surprised how high the Duncan stuff is because even the sale of 4,100, which it is a bit suspicious that exactly 7 days later that it's like sold again. So you
Mm.
could argue that the 8,000 maybe was passed in and then they've relisted it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's what I'm sort of. Yeah.
it does make you like a bit worried, doesn't it? But if you look at the PSA 10 at
Yeah.
12,000,
That's correct. Yeah.
that's to me is that's that to me
Population
is
106. Yeah.
a really good sort of showing out. So I suppose then if we look in the bigger picture, if you then compare that to the Magic Johnson,
Mm.
do you think that Duncan's going to keep trickling up? Pop count is 106. He does have that amazing resume. Again, I'm not traveling in these circles of spending 12,000 US dollars on a single card.
Mm.
Is this actually like a bit of a hidden jewel? Is it a good buy? I'm still going to stand by that. I think it's a really good purchase.
Yeah. Well, look, I still think you're getting good value there, at 12K. I mean, it has peaked at 19 by the look of it,
Yeah,
18 and 19 for
yeah.
the PSA 10. So I think that's more of a realistic price. I think that 20 to 25 range for someone of Tim Duncan's caliber, yeah, it's definitely not sort of selling it short.
I think if that Magic card though is selling for 25,000, it sort of does give you a bit of a look into the future as to like where those very select
Yeah.
cards do sort of end up. So
Mm. Those sort of really decorated those NBA 75 level players.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So what have you taken away from this exercise ad?
it's not as transparent as initially thought.
Yeah, sure.
There is actually a lot of value in some older stuff. You just have to be very specific with what cards you actually are looking for.
Yeah. So the two things I've taken away from this is that you really need to pick the brand of card that you want to purchase to hold on for 25 years because the two examples that are really stuck in my head is that Shaquille O'Neal card
Yep.
and the Magic Johnson card. Like that is just it's so prolific, the price difference in there that
Yeah.
if you had bought the Fleer instead of the Upper Deck, well then essentially you've shot yourself in the foot, a couple of thousand.
Yeah.
Then the other thing that I've probably walked away from this exercise thinking is that I think if you sort of just assume you're going to go in and buy all this old school retro stuff and you're going to do it for pocket change, I think you're actually going to be
Keeping
very much
yourself.
in for a shock. Yeah, because a Duncan, essentially, let's call it a silver. They called it a refractor back in the day, but 12,000 US, and that's on a downward swing. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
I
that's on the down. That's
yeah,
you're getting value if you're getting it for 12K.
you've done well.
You're getting it
Yeah,
very well.
yeah. Well, I think we tie this up because I know that
Yeah,
we
look,
want to keep
I'm
it.
probably stretching it
Yeah,
as
it's
far
fair.
as that joke goes, as far as my leg needing to be stretched.
We don't want to make jokes about this. Too
the
soon,
main
mate.
thing is the main thing is I'm back.
Yeah, you're back, mate.
And I first of all, I didn't say it earlier, but thank you for the message at the end of the last episode. I did listen to the end,
Good. I'm glad
and
you did. I
yeah,
was hoping you did. Yeah.
I did for sure.
Good, man. I'm glad you liked it, and I'm not very good at
That's all right. I had a tear in my eye, and the
expressing
nurse
my.
thought I was in pain. I was actually smiling.
I'm not very good at expressing my manly feelings, so this is the best way that I could do it.
No,
So,
that was fantastic.
good, mate.
But now I want a shack, and I have to get a PSA 9.
I think stick to the
I'm
nine,
going
man.
PSA 9.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening and tuning in this week. Adam, thank you so much for coming on, and I'm
It's
so glad you're back, mate.
fantastic to be back.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we'll be hopefully ready to tackle things very very head on, and watch some more playoffs in the coming weeks.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.